Thomas Hiura. Oh, I fucked it up. That's not even the name of the show.
All right,
I always get one false start. Oh no! I messed up the whole relationship. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and people outside the binary. This is Less Stupid with Thomas Hiura, a show that's completely uncut, uncensored, and unsure what to ask this wonderful artist, AMIIA. We're gonna get through it. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is AMIIA NECTAR. I'm glad to be on this little podcast thing. Let's see what's it about, what's happening. All right,
absolutely.
Cool. I'm on a radio show here at Firewalker Radio. You can tune in every Friday at 3 o'clock.
3 to 5 p.m., right?
There it is. KEPW.org.
Absolutely. Or 97.3 if you're around the Eugene, Oregon area.
There we go.
So here we go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How did it go today? What did you spin?
Oh, we did talk about some controversial things today.
Okay.
We did.
I was going to ask you.
We talked about Antarctica, if aliens are real, space travel. We talked about, just
holy moly,
a whole lot of stuff. A whole lot.
I was telling you just earlier, like, oh, it's a totally uncensored show.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, holy moly.
Yeah, right. Like what?
No, I'm just, so not very rebellious.
Okay.
Like I love free speech and I like podcasts because people get a real chance to lay out their opinion instead of the quick sound bites.
Right.
But most of my opinions I don't think are that controversial.
Okay.
What is a controversial opinion that you have though? About anything?
Well, I'm a very sexually liberated person.
Yes.
So
we have a puritanical society.
I believe we should talk about it. We should do it more because actually more sex is safe sex. That's a whole little complex thing. There's more to that. But that's what I believe.
I appreciate that. And I would probably fall on the same opinion on many of those, I guess, issues. But mostly when it comes to sexuality, issues are just people having a problem with it.
Yeah, very true.
But also, of course, there's access to contraceptives and birth control.
There is.
And serious rights issues. So as a person, do you feel like employers should... I'm going to try to be like I told you what my opinions are, but I'm going to try to get at some of yours too.
Okay.
Because I talk to musicians about issues like in politics, and I try to talk to political people about music. I'm doing it all.
Okay.
Do you think employers should provide contraceptive services and birth control, even if they have like a religious opposition to it?
Oh, you're taking me back to my pageant days.
Oh.
They would ask me these questions, pull out a bowl and just answer it. And I have anxiety now, just like I had anxiety then.
I'm sorry.
That's a good question. I do.
Yes.
Because it's important. I mean, especially if you're going to... it's your body. You know, no one wants to make those decisions for you, but to just promote like safe sex is just important.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And honestly, abstinence only sex education, for example, still is what children here in Eugene, here in Lane County are being brought up through. I remember I had a program called Students Today Aren't Ready for Sex. Stars.
Wow.
Yeah. When I was in middle school, all my classmates, we literally would put on a Beyonce song, check on it. Ooh, boy, you looking like you like what you see. Won't you come over and check? Yeah.
Yeah.
Great song.
Uh-huh.
And we analyzed it just to be like, what negative messages is this teaching our youth?
What?
Yeah.
And not a damn thing.
No.
Like, it's just a fun song.
And she's actually very kind of self-empowered in that song. She's like,
I
don't
felt
touch
it.
it.
Yeah.
You can look, but don't touch it. Mm-hmm. And that's an important message about consent that we don't learn if we just do abstinence only.
True.
So.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was raised like that in the church, but I took sexuality in my own hands when I was about 11.
Wow.
And I had the internet. And I went crazy. I was like, let me look up this. I'm gonna look up that. Right. Looking it up. I'm a little picky, so I'm like, I go to like the 30th page, and then I'm like, okay, finally, this is gonna work. But Yeah.
Usually when they get the hottest videos, that's not really what you want to see.
It's not.
It's like totally what the mainstream culture's idea of sexuality can be.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to talk about sexuality and porn, I'd love to get into it. Do you ever, with the kinds of messages that are depicted in some of those really popular videos, or with the way that a lot of people call the, it's like, okay, I'm going to try to talk about the exploitation that does occur in some situations, but when I do that, I don't want to also imply that all these women are not empowered. They're not they're not expressing their sexual agency, which I think they are. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times, they can't be in the industry for more than a few years unless they're willing to do more intense and or degrading sort of stuff.
Right.
Do you have any feelings about any of that?
I believe it actually makes me think of a YouTuber. Her name is like Shannon Rose. Nice. And she was a porn star back in the day. And she talks about how she used to do, like at the time, she didn't realize that her past would catch up to her. Interesting. And the things that she was doing was like, I think something came up with her doing something with an animal, and she's an established YouTuber where she does talk about her sex life and her past, but this was something that people were absolutely like, no, ma'am, like, sure. And so I don't know, right. I haven't heard from her since, so I do believe there are certain limits to what you do, but for the most part, even like interracial. Like that's a big like genre in porn. People love that, especially with like black men and white women. That's like
Kanye has said that's his favorite. Like,
I bet
category.
It is. I bet Kanye.
Blacked.
Kanye. I bet it is.
Yeah. That person is just liable to say whatever he is feeling.
Yeah,
and that's when it can go too far. Again, like
true.
But. Yeah,
but I respect Kanye. I'm just throwing out like as an artist, I respect Kanye. His the way that he engineers music. His
oh my gosh,
I'll give you that, Kanye.
Yes,
don't take my mic.
I mean, I'm not gonna take it. Yeah, Kanye just walks in here
like
you dissed me on this podcast. Worst podcast of all time. Way worse than Beyonce's video. Like
wow,
what a person. But I'm a huge fan of his music too. I've talked to people before and surprised people and said he's probably my biggest musical inspiration.
Really?
Yes. Also, that comes from me recently being diagnosed with bipolar disorder too, feeling a sense of I can relate sometimes because he expresses all of that as he's going through it.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with psychosis, mania. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Okay. It's a whole thing. So, from crazy to crazy.
I like that. Exactly. Yeah. I would never try to deny that I'm crazy, but he even talks about let's take the stigma away from crazy.
Yeah.
Because honestly, too, the unfortunate thing, I think one of the things that can trigger me to get frustrated that sometimes has led to my mania is we live in a world that's totally unjust and fucked up.
That's true.
And it would be crazy not to be upset about that, at least on some level. And so that's where it's just, I think it's hard to self-regulate, like, okay, how much am I diving into this news cycle and reading up about every little thing that the people have done that whoever it may be. I was going to say Republicans, but also I got my frustration with Democrats. I got my frustrations with the media. A lot of me creating this podcast is like a rebellion against mainstream corporate media, what we can and can't talk about. I don't know. Sometimes I just start talking. I'll just shut up.
No, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Since moving to Eugene, I've heard people really try to change the way that they use their language as well. I mean, language is really empowering. Instead of saying, "Oh, that's so crazy," say instead, "Wow, that's fascinating." Sure. And so in that way, you're also acknowledging that maybe other people, because we see reality only through how we see it a lot of times, and we don't take into consideration how other people are experiencing reality.
Yes.
And just changes in our language, changes in how we speak to somebody can be that because there's so many times where you feel like somebody said something to you and you're like, but they didn't mean it that way.
Sure.
That's probably just the way that they speak. And no one ever reacted to that in the way that you may have reacted, because you're coming from a different walk of life. So I'm definitely more so trying to correct my my language and how I speak, and just even what we think of as just like the small things. Yeah.
Well, I like what you said there, because you're talking about how we should all try to strive to be more respectful with how we talk.
Yeah.
But you also want to recognize when people have a moment where they say something they don't know is offensive. Often I think it can come out of a lack of educational privilege. You know, I can only speak from a perspective of, I got a lot of money from Bill Gates. He hooked it up fat for me to go to college. It was pretty dope. At that college, the standard of what was permissible, it was like, instead of being here where I grew up, where we have some conservative people, and there are a lot of, honestly, Trump people in Eugene, you know, in Lane County, all around in Oregon. But from that campus experience, and then I'm saying the spectrum is from there to like extremely progressive.
Okay.
But in my college I went to, Carleton College, it was basically, there were a few Trump supporters, but they were very, very, frankly, marginalized is not even really a terrible word to use in some cases, because of just how unable to express and assert that part of who they were. I wouldn't even say Trump. I would say people who wanted Jeb Bush, like people who had any kind of conservative opinion, but didn't agree with all the crazy rhetoric and the crazy behavior.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, at that point, conservatism, it exists around here as well. And what you're kind of getting at is that if we try to humanize people, maybe sit down and have conversations in long form, we can get past, oh, you said this word, or you know, one thing, but it is hard to draw a line, right? Between like, I don't want to hear people just calling people like illegals is one that I don't like, you know. We should refer to people as undocumented immigrants, or we should just refer to them as my fucking neighbor.
Right.
Yeah. You know, it's sometimes my issue is like, I want to humanize people on the right, but sometimes people on the right can be, there's willful ignorance. There's
people say ignorant stuff so confidently too.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Do you have any stories? You sound like you might have an example.
I mean, like, politics aren't really my thing, so I won't go into too deep into that. But what I've seen here, as far as like even the culture that Trump has started, I mean, with the Make America Great Again, even the hats, you know, here, I'm from Tucson, Arizona, and we don't really, I don't remember seeing any of the hats, to be honest.
Right.
I went to a rally once. I went to a Trump rally.
Really?
Yeah, where he came and.
Was it in Arizona?
It was. Yeah.
Wow.
A lot happened there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
As soon as I walked in there, I was met with aggressiveness, anger, lots of sly remarks were made to me.
Jeez.
But I wanted to go for the experience because I had went to the Bernie Sanders rally as well. And what I realized, first of all, Bernie Sanders, it was packed in there. Packed.
Nice.
And positive energy. Everyone's
People are so excited for a revolutionary candidate like him.
They are. They're so excited. And in comparison to the Trump rally, they're not hardly, but it was half full. I'm telling you, half full. Angry people.
Wow, in Arizona.
Yeah, like you could just see there was like a totally different type of energy.
Right.
In these type of people, in those people at the rally. And as far as the hats, like I didn't see any of the hats outside of the rally in Tucson, Arizona. But here in Eugene, I see the hats, but then I also see parodies of the hats.
Sure.
Like I don't know.
Eugene Green again.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
And to me, that I don't understand that. I guess maybe it's the equivalent of taking the N-word back. I don't know. That's a little too far. But like, that's how much it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I think that people should hopefully recognize, like, again, my frustration with the media is they just keep feeding into his dogma. They feed into his rhetoric by amplifying him. And when we parody him, we're still bringing attention to what he's doing. And I think that, some of my favorite candidates have talked about how the more we do that and the less we focus on, hey, what's our positive agenda that we want to accomplish when we get the presidency again, because Trump's presidency is going to end. I personally hope it's this year, but by 2024, it'll definitely end. And we have so much to fix.
Yeah.
The problems started long before his being in office. As far as, I don't want to force you to talk too much politics. Like you said, it's not your lane necessarily, or not your thing. But okay, so what we know about you is you're from Arizona. You're a musician named AMIIA NECTAR. And what has inspired you to be a musician? Making music's kind of a crazy thing to do.
It is. It is. Not in Eugene, though.
True.
in Portland area. But it is. I mean, anything in the arts is seen as like, what? Are you going to get a real job? What's happening? Right. But I've always written music. Since I can remember, even like 6 at the latest, I would put on concerts for my mom, make them pay, because I would put on the whole Destiny's Child album. I would learn it, go out there and perform. And then for a little bit, I didn't sing or make any music. I think a lot of it had to do with my relationship with my mother. She put down a lot of my creative outlets, and she didn't really grow them, so to speak. And so I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then when I was a teenager, I started singing in the church, and honestly, I was not singing for the Lord. I was singing for my own gratification. I was like, yes, I'm going to hit that high note. And everyone's like, woo, yeah, falling out, running around the church. I'm like, I did that. I didn't really fully understand the structure or the belief system at that time.
Well, I don't think any kid could. I mean,
yeah, I think it's so complex too.
Yes. And as much as the Bible has been translated, King James Version, New International Version, et cetera, a lot of people haven't read it. A lot of people who are in churches, and I've attended 2 churches regularly in my life, and I do consider myself a Christian, but I'm such a rebellious person that my Christianity is it's personal between me and my idea of Jesus Christ, my idea of the divine, the spiritual. And so I don't like it to be reined in by other ideas about that. But I don't think you should blame yourself too much for, even Jesus was tempted, Jesus was perfect biblically, but he was tempted by the devil, by forces that, maybe in that moment you don't feel like you were singing it for God. But my view about music is so optimistic. I almost feel like just about all music is an expression of God. I don't know.
Well, I feel like I'm more spiritual, so I in a sense, I do connect with what you're saying, because I did feel movements, seeing people bust out of tears. That's just nothing. That's coming from somewhere deep that even I couldn't understand. Or
Absolutely.
Sometimes I bust out crying while I was singing, and I didn't know where that was coming from, but it was the experience, the energy, everything that's happening in that room created something. So I definitely, I feel that. And I feel that when I create music as well. It's so fun writing songs because you can do whatever you want. No one's telling you what to do.
Absolutely.
Write whatever you want. Experiment. Try new sounds. Put a little ding in there if you want a ding in there. Or, I don't know, some outlandish instrument. It's really up to your own creativity.
Yes. There's been, and I've thought about trying to go to law school to be a hip hop lawyer, to get people, young artists, to be able to sample more and profit off of it.
Yes.
Because, who cares about the fucking Beatles, whoever owns the Beatles estate?
Right.
Let me pull a little bit of Blackbird and put some trap drums under it or whatever. And that's a really amazing artistic expression.
Yes.
Yeah. But the only people that can do it, you have to be connected to the labels to pay a ton of money to clear those samples.
Right.
So that's something I'm pretty passionate about.
Right. And they're all about legacy too. They want to keep that, those royalties and everything to them. So I'm at that. Actually, we were talking about it on the show too.
Nice.
I don't know who, but one of my, I guess, colleagues. I don't know what to call them. Anyways, Lavish from Firewalker Radio.
Nice.
He
3 to 5 p.m. on Fridays in Eugene, Oregon.
There you go.
KEPW.org.
Tune in.
Yes.
He mentioned some artists who expanded that in their contracts to like the ends of the universe or something like that. The way that it was worded was like, whoa, so you're telling me even if I go to Mars, I can't sample your song? Like, that's crazy. That's
interterrestrial law.
Like, come on.
It's all about the almighty dollar.
No limits. No limits there.
So it's exciting to me to see artists, though, that are carving a lane that's more independent of the major labels. Because you brought up Destiny Child, and Destiny Child is amazing, but like, think about if the internet existed in the 90s, how many acts that could have been inspired by Destiny's Child could have been in conversation with them, could have put out stuff on YouTube, their own interpolations, and brought about more community that way. That's been a cool part of the internet for sure.
Definitely.
Or like, I love Chance the Rapper, independent artist. I love Tech Nine. He has his own label. I like Insane Clown Posse. They have their own label. People carving out their own creative establishment, and hopefully like being able to do, at least make a living as creatives, you know. There are opportunities now, but because there's so much content out there, you also have to be pushing it really hard, and that can be a challenge.
Hearing artists say that they haven't even read a contract when they're entering an agreement, like especially young artists, like they're pushed amounts of money they've never seen in their entire lives.
Sure.
And immediately they're like, yeah, I want this. And I want the clout. I want to be able to tell my family and my friends that like, I got this money in a day. They wanted me, and you don't look at the things, and then you get caught up, and 5 years later, they own all your songs. What are you going to do? Like when you actually want to venture out, or it's hard. I think that's what happened to Taylor Swift. Something happened with her where she doesn't own her music. She's in a legal battle with her. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's been issues with Kesha, allegations of sexual assault against Dr. Luke, and her not being able to put out music, having to work with this person who she accused, of this behavior. It's just sad when you see something as beautiful and organic as music. Right. The mechanisms through which you can be successful with it, I think of it as predatory, and I think of it as exploitative. It is. Labels and these young artists who hopefully they can educate themselves a little more and read the contract first. But even then, like if you're from desperate circumstances, which a lot of my favorite music comes from. Yeah.
Because it has a story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then you're going to want to take that offer with the big cash advance that might not get you as many royalties down the road, or gets you a much smaller slice of the sale per song. And so I think of that. I think of, for some reason, I'm making this connection between like, let's say because a lot of the music I love is hip hop, which is a black art form as far as I'm concerned. Like coming out of the black experience, and which I don't know or understand from my own experience, right? But if you're basically told there are two things you could do. J. Cole says, what's the price of a black man life? I check the toe tag, not one zero in sight. I turn the TV on, not one hero in sight, unless he dribble or he fiddle with mics. There it goes. Yes. Yeah. And there's the music lane. There's athletics, which are also very, very challenging and can be very exploitative. And if you're in college and the university is making millions and millions of dollars off your name and your work and your labor and your literal sweat and your literal blood. Yeah. Only recently they're saying they might be able to make a little bit of money off that. Do you think that would have happened if it wasn't a predominantly black industry? If it was all white basketball players and football players, I think they would have been getting paid by now. Definitely. Definitely. And to branch off of the music, like Tyler, the Creator, recently, like the fact that he feels
what was I don't remember the award show that it was. Yeah. And how he felt that the category or being called urban is another derogatory term to say, to put him in, to box him in. So even if you are rapping, you can only rap, and they only see it as that. They don't want to see you as in all these different, branching off into all these different categories and actually recognizing it for what it is. Because he even blatantly said, my music is not just rap. Actually, I believe he said that it's not rap. Like
last 3-4 albums, listen to that and tell me
it's an experience. Yes. Earthquake, like I love that song so much. I played that song out, and
nice.
And it's not. It's a different. He really experimented with that, and to be told or to feel like you have to be put into a box, especially as an artist who wants to create, it is. I couldn't imagine.
Sure.
Couldn't imagine. Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar is about to make a rock project.
For real?
Yes.
For real?
At least that's what's been talked about. And I think because he's so meticulous with his work, I hope it comes out. I hope it's great. But it won't come out unless he's really happy with it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because, okay, it's not going to be like some Lil Wayne, I'm going to make a rock project and just to try to branch out because I'm seen as one of these gods of rap. Let me do something else. It can't be like Michael Jordan playing baseball.
Right.
I think when he does it, he wants it to be, this is, first of all, something I totally have the right to do.
Right.
You know, because so much of American music comes from African American culture.
It does.
Blues, jazz, soul,
Black History
R&B,
Month.
Disco devolved out of funk and became worse. Like, country, bluegrass. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the 2020s are going to be really big for Black and other artists of color making rock music. I also think it's going to be a lot.
You're telling me I should hop on the rock wave? I might.
Why
put
not?
Something out, right?
Pick up a guitar.
Just to do. I feel like everything that I do will always have the element of R&B because that's just in my soul. That's but I can, as a musician, branch out into those things and feel confident as long as there's an element of me and what I know of me to be, and I put that in there and I see it, I'm like, okay, that's great. And then we can add whatever it is, the guitar, the bass, whatever makes it sound how ultimately I want it to sound, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a band called Wicked Wisdom?
I haven't.
Okay. They had one album, I believe, but it's Jada Pinkett Smith.
What?
She was the lead singer of a metal band.
Actually, I think I heard of that. Yeah. I've seen photos.
Bleed All Over Me is a single, and they played on some of the late night shows, but they didn't get that much traction because, I mean, I think it came out in 2000. And gosh, I hope they make a comeback or something because I feel like people, at least in the mainstream, is more ready to accept cool shit like that because it's great music too. Not just saying, I don't know. Just because, you know, she's making rock music that it should, you know, we should love it. I genuinely think it's fucking great music.
No, I have
but
to
I just love seeing people do stuff they're not expected to or allowed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good.
And
also, I mean, people might not be ready for something that you put out right now, but in like 10, 15 years, they'll look back. You'll get, I feel like I'll put out a song, or an artist will put out a song, and in like 30 years from now, you'll get teenagers that are like, I was born in the wrong era. This is my music.
Yes.
and it'll pop up and everybody's listening to that. Yeah. So it all cycles around everything. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Satin Love Orchestra? They just, they're kind of like a local but big act in Eugene. They play all these disco and funk hits.
Neat.
And they play in the park and they play it's free. But I've like known friends who they just like get on these crazy disco shoes and sunglasses and sparkly vests and jackets and stuff. And they would have loved to have been there in the real 70s. You know?
Cool.
Do you ever feel like there's, this feels like a weird question to ask, like an era you would have rather been in?
I know, that's a weird question for a Black person. I always feel real.
I felt the tension when I asked it.
I know, and I hear that question so much around my friends of different pigments.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No, and it's just, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think you know.
Yeah.
I think you,
absolutely.
I mean,
but it almost is today significantly better? It's definitely not. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is significantly better. But
I can like.
You're totally right.
It's better.
Yes.
And then to think about it, I'd have to almost rewrite history in a way to where it wasn't exactly like that. It was different experience for me, or I have to envision myself as a white person, and it gets too complicated. So the answer is no. But I do see how other people can easily it's not privilege, so to speak, but I mean, it
could be.
You have it's certain people's histories, so they can look back and say, okay, yeah, I mean, I would love to meet my great whatever, or I would love to experience that and all that stuff. So it's easier when you know you don't have those adversities to face if you are,
absolutely. I legitimately feel like an idiot for asking that question. Even
that's the answer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something I was a history teacher, a student teacher for a little bit, and I taught global history, and I taught American government.
Okay.
And global history is such a challenge because they'll take okay, here's a giant region of Asia and a 200-year period, and you're going to learn it in a week. Mm-hmm. And it's oh my gosh. But then we'll dive thoroughly into the U.S. Civil War, which we should. Right. But I just feel with education a lot of the time, the show's called Less Stupid, which is maybe aggressive, but I try to think of as positive.
Yeah.
Let's all be a little less stupid. I need to be less stupid.
I need to be less stupid.
Yes. But if it was a priority of the government or people who really run this country who aren't the government, but essentially the mega wealthy who own the media and own most of the corporations, if it was a priority for people to be well educated in this country, that would have happened. Right. That we would have been there so long ago. And it wasn't as bad as it is now. I'd say probably the 90s, but it's just every other part of the budget, it seems like federally and in state governments, just grows and expands, and schools get left behind. So have you ever thought about what was your education like? Let me just go from there as far as formal education.
Oh.
Did you feel good about it?
I had good teachers.
That's good.
For the most part. No, I mean, not really in high school. I had one, her name was Dr. Watson, and she was my history teacher. And no one else liked her. No one else liked her. I mean, I understand. She was aggressive, and if you were late, she'd make you sing "If I Was an Oscar Mayer Wiener." And I never heard that song before, but she'd make you sing that in the front of the class. And what I liked about her, and I understand the teen mind is obviously going to have some pushback, I don't like a teacher who's mean. Absolutely. But I liked her structure, and I feel like that was lacking in a lot of the other classes where kids were just throwing stuff, yelling. We didn't have, I think our school is rated a D or something like that. It was bad. Our school books were torn and worn, and
was it a public school in Arizona?
Yeah. We had a principal changed out every few months. It was bad. One principal even punched a kid.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had a kid who was I was the student teacher, but then the cooperating teacher, Mr. Gomez, is New York City public schools, and those kids were rough. Yeah. Those kids were they pushed Mr. Gomez into the door frame because he was trying to get them to not leave the class early. Yeah. And he got a concussion, and the doctor was like, you should take 2 full weeks out. Whoa. Because this job is so stressful, and also, you just got assaulted by a 16-year-old. Seriously. How can we keep talent in the profession? Educators can't do anything else with their fucking lives, and they have to get additional work in the summer so much of the time just to keep up. It's disappointing.
It really is, because I mean, I understand all the late hours of grading, you're a counselor as well. You're dealing with all. I had a teacher who was working like 2 jobs outside of school.
Wow.
Showing up sometimes really late, sometimes not at all.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes not at all.
You cannot do that.
And we were trying to figure out who's going to teach this class.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know.
That's worse than the stories you hear of like teachers who read the newspaper like in the corner in their own classroom during class, but like to not even be there at all.
Didn't even show up. Didn't even plan it. Nothing.
Wow.
Yeah. So, in that instance, I mean, you look at it and you're like, the kids are bad, but at the same time, it's feeding off of both. You're not showing up. No one cares. My milk carton once was moldy. It was like,
wow.
And they had roaches, and it's like, how do you have respect for a school that you feel doesn't respect itself? You know, so that plays into it as well. That's like a factor into education, and then on top of that, there was a lot of students in one class, so it's hard for the teacher, I would imagine, I guess, to actually be able to sit down with each of them, right, for individual help. Yeah.
You know, the schools are so depleted. It's so sad. The rhetoric. Okay, let me do a real quick tangent about like, I envy conservatives because their rhetoric is so freaking forceful. You know what I mean? Like, so here's my example. Donald Trump is so forceful in his idea. Oh, the military was totally depleted. We gave 2.6, billions of dollars. Yeah. We're going to, and now it's so restored. And it's like, dude, what's fucking depleted? Look at the budget of the federal government. The military has been thriving and way stronger than anywhere else in the world, and way stronger than we need it to be. And the weapons manufacturers charge whatever they want, which inflates the cost. What's depleted are the public schools. You see the books falling apart. You see them throwing 35 kids into a classroom that has 30 seats. It's sad because we do have abundance. We have abundant talent in terms of people who want to be teachers, but they can't get paid enough because we don't have enough resources, and the kids want to learn. Yeah. So much of the time it's put on this BS idea that, just natural for a kid to not want to be in class. No, there's something wrong with the class and something wrong with the way that you're structuring the school if the kids don't want to be there. So it's fucked.
What I noticed, so I think of the most studious kids at my high school at the time was this one white girl. She was super sweet, super intelligent. Her family cared immensely for her education, immensely. Like, she actually, like, I didn't have a time where I sat down with my family and did homework. Like, she would brag, like, talk about that and stuff. And I think because really important. It is. It's so important to have that background too. And then on the opposite side, I had this African girl, and she was doing really well in school, but then her family was also on top of her work because they had moved to America and wanted to see her succeed. So that was a real driving force in there. So the presence of just their parents was there.
Yeah.
And everybody in between didn't have that.
A huge majority of the kids' day and life. Yeah. And so there's really only so much an educator can do when they have a caseload of 120 students. I experienced that too, but it's hard because how can you tell? I experienced like being frustrated with the students, but also being frustrated with parents. Ooh.
Do parents do they like to be told they're not good? Yeah.
No, it's sad. But I don't know. I try to be more optimistic. You cared enough. Yeah. And with being an educator, it's pretty interesting because there is a big subset of the population who wants to honor you and I think it's great. And when people tell people you're a teacher, it's like this empathetic, like, thank you. Yeah. Oh my gosh, like that you do that. But part of Less Stupid is me wanting to envision just what's a more ideal society look like, because we have to have some positive vision of the future if we want to make the world better. We can't just be mad at the negative stuff. And you know, for me, it's like ideal world. Education is free until you're 25, and you know, pretty much none of your classes are going to be more than 20, 25 people. And that should be only for things like a science lab or something. You know, literature is, I think, really important. And kids are spark noting their way through it. Like an amazing way to teach literature would be like, okay, we're gonna have 9 kids in a class, and we're gonna like sit in a round table, kind of like the camera's on now, and we're gonna really dive into, you know, Nora. Gosh, why am I blanking on her name? Zora Neale Hurston. You know, we're gonna really dive in on this Mark Twain. I'm just thinking of books I was taught in 11th grade.
Right.
But I can't remember them as well because I didn't read them all the way through, because there's also so much stress around students having to, you know, take 7 classes at once and divide up, you know, all their time. And we know what it's like to be a 14 to 18-year-old. There's a lot of stuff pulling at you.
Yes. I used math way too much. It gives you the answers to your problems.
Wolfram Alpha is the one I knew about.
Oh, yeah. Those are not good. Definitely not good, because they're addictive, and you're just like, whatever, I can do this. Thankfully, my classmates, I'm very competitive, so my classmates were competitive and actually like the test. So that would enforce me to want to take the time to learn math and go over the problems and stuff. My teacher didn't care. My teacher did not care. All of my teachers hardly ever showed up except for Dr. Watson.
Really?
She was on point. And my culinary teacher, but he threw a chair once then he was gone. But he was great because, I mean, yeah, but they pushed him. They pushed him to the limit. He told them not to put eggshells in their aprons, and and put it in the washing machine.
Oh my gosh!
And they kept doing that, and then they were drinking the milk out the fridge for their own cereal that they brought. Like, they were doing bad stuff.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so they pushed him. I missed him because he was really great, except the chair thing. But you know,
absolutely. That's too bad.
Yeah.
I'm either going to empathize with the chair thrower, or I'm going to, I don't know. It's hard to really take a position on that one. I don't know much.
Think about it. Like, what pushes you to throw a chair? It has to be, especially in front of like a bunch of 15, 16-year-olds.
It's funny because my culinary teacher, Miho Hosaka, allowed me to air out a story in front of the class about a chair being thrown at me.
What?
So it's reciprocal. Your culinary teacher throws it. My culinary teacher heals the wound.
Awesome.
It was YMCA basketball. No, actually, it was Kid Sports is the league. And I was in 10th grade.
Yeah.
And we were playing against Sheldon at the Lane County Fairgrounds basketball court area. And yeah, it got pretty intense, and it was a great fucking game. I don't even remember who won, but we had this guy, Kelson, and he was one of these kids. You see him in basketball. If you're a sports person, like I love sports, like you see certain personalities in different sports, and you see these people, like sort of behavioral archetypes kind of emerging. I'm talking about like sometimes you get a kid who is so fucking good at basketball, but such a little shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not dissing. I like that guy. But at the time, the maturity level, he would just get heated.
Yeah.
He would get really heated. And like if somebody fouled him, he would get right up in their chest and he would talk shit to them as he's sinking his free throws. He was just that kind of a kid. And he was like, I guess he was like probably 19 at the time. So no, he was 18. So he was a fucking kid. But yeah, at the end of the game, broke out in this weird brawl, and the benches cleared, and I was just like trying to be the most peaceful one, like yo, yo, yo. And then I looked to my right, and there's a big ass plastic chair that came and hit me right in the eye socket.
Ouch.
So yeah, I wasn't really thrilled.
No, I mean, woo, good game. Like no,
yeah. That kind of makes me want to think about violence. As a topic, because like I see Martin Luther King over there on the wall, incredible, undeniably successful activist who preached nonviolence. And then someone seen sort of as his rival, though much has been made of their rivalry, Malcolm X.
Right.
By any means necessary, he was strapped walking around, and the Black Panthers were defending their communities with arms because, frankly, what they were experiencing was oppression with arms. What do you think about today in a world where so much of our cultural movements and dialogue is online? Do you think that more violence is going to emerge? And what is your position on the compatibility of violence and social change?
I believe that in order for change to happen, we have to rise as a collective, or, a certain amount of people need to rise as a collective. But then they also have to be okay with laying their lives down, because you never know what will happen in the pursuit of change. And in that sense, and what I'm saying is violence may happen. And I'm pretty sure the people who marched with Dr. Martin Luther King, to a certain extent, they believe they were aware that violence may happen, but they were so enthralled and so enamored and so ready to go because their leader was so ready to go. And then once what happened to him happened, it all kind of dissipated, and no one really wanted to be that front head as much. So there's definitely that element when we're going to try to make change happen.
I agree.
Does it have to happen? No. Do we want it to happen? Ideally, no.
Well, we're not starting at this like utopian ground zero where violence isn't already happening.
That's
true. Is the thing. The fact that we have such a dog shit federal healthcare situation and system. The fact that we don't even have a public option that's affordable.
Right.
Obama did a lot to get you better coverage by making private insurance companies not able to fuck you out of coverage.
Right.
And by making it so employers had to step up a role, and take care of your fucking fundamental physical and mental and fucking probably not even mental health care coverage is in there. But all I'm saying is, like, if somebody's going to benefit off your labor and you're going to have that relationship, then they have a fucking vested interest in you being healthy and being able to live. That's violence. The fact that so many people don't have any kind of coverage, that's literally violence. So it's not like people who are radical activists who believe in violence, which I don't even know if I'm one of those people, right? Are just saying, let's throw a bomb into a situation. I don't know. Let's create this evil fisticuffs. It's already happening.
Right.
So,
I mean, I'm ready to go. like I would.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Let's start some shit. Just teasing.
Yeah. I mean, for what I believe in and what I stand for, but I don't know if I'd be. Sometimes it just happens though. Like right now, I'm like, would I be the front leader of some revolutionary thing? I don't know, but maybe the position may happen. Even when I'm like, I don't know, 60 or something like that. I'm sitting on a bus and I don't want to get up on my seat. But
it'll be an electric hovering bus. But yes,
right. I know.
Oh, racism is totally going to exist in the future. It sucks, but it's going to continue to change and adapt and manifest. The only reason why I was kind of thinking about asking like, is there an era that you would have rather been in, is because it was, I think, pretty hard to deny how deep the influence of racism was and white supremacy when, the drinking fountains and the bathrooms were segregated.
Right.
Whereas now there's the unfortunate thing you deal with is a lot of people don't even want to listen to the idea that racism underpins our society,
right,
or has an influence even.
But I'm not okay with that, but I would not change and try to go back, because that's unraveling a lot of progress that we've already created. I don't want to have to drink from a different fountain. Like that Honestly, that would be so outlandish for me to even think. And I do understand why people were sitting at coffee stations or going to cafes. Black people would go sit at the cafes, get hot coffee poured on them. People would ash out their cigarettes on their hands. Like that's not something that I have to experience. And I thank my ancestors. I think the people in my past who have brought me to something, and I hope to make something of myself just to say like thank you, you know, more so than just let it all go to waste.
Yeah.
And even here, I've experienced racism. But like I don't know why, but I'm absolutely not okay with anyone really using the N-word. I don't really use the N-word, to be honest. But I've become so numb to it almost. And it's not good because that's where problems arise. But I've heard it so many times. But it's good in the sense that I'm not going to react. Like, I'm not going to give you that reaction that you're hoping to get.
I hope it doesn't fuck up your whole day when you hear it, you know. But
sometimes I sit down and I'm thinking about it. Like, I'm like, why did that person choose to say that to me? But if that's what I'm dealing with, then that's a sign that we've made progress. If that's the only thing, because I haven't been attacked. I've dealt with it mainly when I was younger, not so much in my adult life.
Right. I hope just not getting physically attacked isn't like the bottom line, you know? Like, I hope that like it would just be out of the question that anyone would be attacked in a racially violent way, but it is a reality.
It's more.
I'm glad that you haven't experienced it here.
I think it's more of just like ignorance. A lot of people just don't want to educate themselves. They don't want to learn. Like we see the Black Lives Matter signs everywhere, but like, are people actually taking the initiative to search what that is or what that means?
Absolutely.
And just living in that ignorance. Actually, an incident.
There's a lot of great local chapters of BLM too that are doing really important work, and it doesn't get covered. And
very true.
Yeah. It's a very like impressively localized movement, and one that I've been I met with people from Black Lives Matter St. Paul and Minneapolis when I was living in Minnesota, and just, you know, super entrenched with like what are the local labor rights issues here that are happening, the local housing and zoning issues, the gentrification issues. And so I don't think Eugene has a chapter, but I could be totally wrong. They actually maybe they have, but the people doing racial justice advocacy here, like the biggest mind that comes to mind. Oh, there's the NAACP, Eugene Springfield chapter, and then there's SURJ, Showing Up for Racial Justice.
Okay.
But that's the whole kind of idea that, hey, we are predominantly white society, but there are a lot of people in Eugene that want to confront their white privilege, and they want to work towards a better society here at KEPW, for example, et cetera. And it comes with showing up. Yeah. Sincerely caring. But hopefully not just showing up and being like, here I am as a champion, and like, let me give all the speeches and, you know, look at this allyship that I'm doing. Right. It's like, let's show up and listen and also elevate people who have the experiences that we don't. And
I'm lucky to have met people, because when I was back in Tucson, I really didn't have any white friends. Not because I opposed to having them, mainly because they were just in their own groups. Like everyone was in their own groups. Right. And here I've been exposed more to, even for me, I've been exposed more to different races, and I've never had really any white friends. And now I can say like two of my best friends are, and like they give me experiences, and we talk about race and stuff, and it's not awkward because we're both open to learning. And I want to surround myself with people who are open to learning, even on my side too. Like stereotypes, like white people can't dance. Like that's not true. Okay. It's not true.
Really?
It's not.
Is it really not true?
It's not. I don't think it's true. Like I think that rhythm is something that certain beats, because I went to a country bar, and I thought I would never ever walk in there. One of my friends brought me, and they're all on beat doing the. I was off beat.
Oh,
I was off beat. I didn't know what was happening. It's because there's a different step. There's a different beat that I think Black people hear in music and white people hear in music, and like I could do my dances, but it was not what they were doing.
Right.
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
Like, like if a white person comes into like, all the black people are doing this, they're going to not really know.
Yes.
Exactly. But like opposite, I go into a country bar, they're like, I'm like.
Has to do with swing, like 4/4 time signature, different genres are very hard on the note and others are not.
True. Very true. And I learned that.
I'm thinking of So Fresh, So Clean. It's got the swing.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody dope as me. I'm just so fresh and so clean.
Yeah.
I saw Big Boy here in Eugene.
Yeah?
Yes, at the McDonald Theater.
Was it? Yeah.
It was lit.
I bet.
Oh, God.
I bet.
We need an Andre solo album, is my opinion. Jay Electronica is just saying that he finished his album. Are you familiar with
No,
him?
I'm not.
He's like this legendary guy who's never put out an album.
Okay, a song? What's a song?
Oh, gosh.
I see, I put you on the spot.
Yes, he did. He's done work with Kanye, and I can't even sing of one song by him.
That's fine.
There you go. I'm an album-based listener.
Okay.
I was born 93, bought late registration as my first rap CD when it was new. Heard a sample of Gold Digger on the radio, recorded it on cassette, looped it a bunch of times, so I learned that verse from Kanye's Gold Digger. And I guess all I'm saying is that Jay Electronica can't be memorable enough to me for me to be like, yeah, that's his music, unless he's made a full album.
Oh, okay.
So
okay,
yeah.
That's fair.
But I'm a long-winded person. You see me rambling. You see me doing these long podcasts.
It's great.
Well, it's definitely different. It's definitely people have different ways that they experience music and media. Like,
right.
I'm thrilled if I see a podcast with two people that I like and it's 2 hours long and pop that shit on and just relax, kind of watch it, vibe out, do whatever I'm doing, maybe get some work done, clean.
Yes.
Mow the lawn.
For sure. Wait a minute.
You don't listen to something when you mow the lawn?
Nah, I don't mow the lawn. I don't have a lawn.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a lawn. I live in a little small
I don't have
apartment.
a lawn right now either, but all I'm saying is
if I did, I'd be listening to this
mowing
podcast.
And listening and bumping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much music we could talk about. I just thought it was so iconic and dope with Destiny's Child because you brought them up earlier.
Yes.
When they literally popped out onto Beyonce's halftime show.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, boom, Kelly, boom, Michelle.
It was beautiful.
And just such power. And the recent Super Bowl performance, I actually haven't watched it yet, but Shakira and J-Lo also being praised for being very just a great show.
Two powerful
women of color.
And I want to say this specifically.
Celebrating sexuality, we talked about earlier.
Older women celebrating sexuality. And I don't mean old, but older women. Because a lot of times older women, I think it stems from our past because women normally in their 40s or 50s there was a different idea of what women were doing. They were at home cooking, cleaning. They were settled down. But these women are on fire. Shakira's 43. I thought she was in her 20s. She looks phenomenal.
Oh my gosh.
Phenomenal. Okay. And her songs were still are still hot. Still, yes. I was just the
totally
whole time. I was here for it. I was like, yes, they were hitting every mark. Every mark.
I was making sandwiches at one of my jobs and I couldn't hear it, but it looked great.
It was great. It was so
and
great.
Those shows have been iffy at times, which is the thing. This is why I was so glad to see just such a powerful and strong performance because the Maroon 5 was a bummer from the vocal department because I think Adam Levine is a great singer, but he had especially the first half of his performance flat, just not on point. And then the other example I think of, this is way back to 2012 or something. Black Eyed Peas. Black Eyed Peas is one of the worst halftime shows I've ever seen.
I love the Black Eyed Peas, though. I can't see ill
so
on them.
Good. I love them. But Fergie she was not hitting those notes. And they brought out Slash, which was pretty cool. She sang Sweet Child of Mine. And it just, have you seen her do the national anthem?
Yes.
You can't tell me that was a good national anthem, right?
I believe she was trying out a rendition, and I also believe she did do it to the best of her ability for that rendition.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say on that.
It must be hard to be a singer. I would probably say to be a woman singer too, to have to just like go out there and be expected to kick ass every time.
Right.
And if you do a creative, different interpretation, because my thing with her was that she looked like she was really owning it too. Yeah, and but I personally didn't think it sounded good. But I don't know.
No, and I think she apologized too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so she's aware that it wasn't to the best, like the way that it was delivered or received wasn't there. And I also feel like she hasn't really. The last song that I heard was some like MILF Money or something where she had Kim Kardashian appear in it, and then I haven't heard from her since.
Yeah, she tried the solo record, and she even got some of the famous features, and it just didn't pop that much, I think. Yeah. But I love Black Eyed Peas, though. I mean, music of my childhood.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm 26 now. How old are you, if you don't
know? I'm 23.
23. Yeah, so I was in elementary school when Ella Funk came out.
Yeah.
And then I was just getting to either middle school or 5th grade when Monkey Business came out. And that has some cuts on it.
Right.
Both of those albums, like, stacked with hits. Like, Don't Lie, My Humps, Pump It, Where's the Love? There's some cuts on Ella Funk. One called Labor Day, It's a Holiday. Have you heard that one? Or Hands Up, it's the opening track. It's just stacked. So good.
will.i.am, he tried producing this Instagram model named India Love. She's 23, and she's gorgeous. Like, gorgeous. But she can't sing. And I kept wondering, why is he still trying to push her?
He was pushing her as a musician then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And endorsing her, you know? He was fully, but like every song was just really bad. Really bad. Like her cadence off. Gorgeous. Very pretty.
I wonder what's up with that.
Yeah.
In the rock vein, there's a band I really like called Snail Mail. But even again, it's a barrier that women seem to experience in art, where it's this amazing girl. She started the band in high school. Her name is Lindsay Jordan, I think, from Maryland. And she is a good-looking white girl with blonde hair, and she just puts a lot into her music. It's got a really cool kind of 90s shoegaze, jangle-y kind of aesthetic to it, kind of throwback. But like the biggest thing that fucking people say about her just because of her looks is, oh, she's an industry plant. Like, she's not even that talented, or blah blah blah. It's like, or making up stuff about like people doing her music for her, and it's like, no, she's literally created that band, Snail Mail, from when she was in high school. Like, gained the respect of people in Maryland, which is like actually got old school punk history, and a lot of like, it's hard to get respect there in music,
right?
But it's an uphill battle.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Do you have music that you've put out into the world? Like, where could people potentially find
a very good question
and support you, especially if they like everything they've been hearing from you now?
So like I said, I've been singing, but I've only really started recording like a few months ago, and a lot of them are collabs. But I'm working with this artist named Lil Mamba. We're going to come out with a song called Routine, and it will come out before Valentine's Day.
Nice.
So if you follow me on Instagram, AMIIA NECTAR, on all social media platforms, it'll be released, and we're so excited for that. I'm so excited. It's the first time I'm rapping, and
nice.
It's like, yes. Yes.
Bars.
Yes.
You want to spit some bars?
I'm not. I can't freestyle.
Oh, okay,
no, don't put me on the spot like that.
No worries. Yeah, that'd be. And honestly, like, how good is a freestyle going to be over an hour into a podcast?
I don't know. If you had Megan Thee Stallion on here, like, I bet she'd be like,
I'm on that cash shit.
Like, yes.
She's so fire. Did you see her Tiny Desk?
Yes.
Her breath control, her presence. What the fuck?
And she actually, I believe she, and I don't quote me on this, but from what I've heard or what I can remember, she started rapping not too long ago too, like at 22. Wow. And she's 24. So within that time, but she did grow up around her mother rapping, and so definitely that's soaked in. But not too long ago, she actually started putting it to the pen, putting a pen to the paper. So it's like beautiful.
Wow.
And I
was just talking to my last guest, Just Joey, he's a Wisconsin to Veneta, Oregon rapper, and he's super dope. I'll send you some of his stuff.
Yes.
But we were talking about how like growing up around music makes a big difference in terms of how you interpret the world and whether you're going to be a musician. Like, I feel like because my dad was so musical, had guitars all around the house, could hardly go a couple hours in the house without hearing some guitar being played. That's just like, I hear the world musically. Right. Because of that. So you had your mom rapping. And then were there any other early influences and or like what was playing in the house? My mom didn't rap.
Megan Thee Stallion's mom
rapped. My bad. Oh gosh. Jeez.
No, my mom actually honestly no, it was mainly just me singing. My little sisters sang, and then I would also create little groups in our neighborhood. I would get all the kids, all the girls especially. I'd tell them how to do the choreography.
Nice.
How we're singing the song, and then we'd perform it. I just wish that we would record it. That would have been such a good thing to have just for a keepsake. But I would do that and perform for them as well. So that's how I kind of had it. I wasn't in anything either musically. Like I wasn't showing this to in a choir or anything like that until I got into high school. So up until then, it was just like, I just love music and I love singing.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I first started singing, I know there's a difference between like making a noise and singing, and I think I made a lot of noises. Like, in high school, I used to send people clips. I'd be like this, like my post. If you want me to send you a song, send a clip of me singing.
Personal song.
Yeah,
nice.
And I do that. And I listened to one actually the other day. I was like, what? This was not good. It sounded horrible. And I deleted it for myself, but I know that they still have it on their side. So, but yeah, I sent out a lot of that. My Christian
friends would say it sounds good to the Lord.
I know.
If it has give a fuck in it, if it has heart, that to me is actually one of the most important things. I actually am really endeared to like artists who are trying really hard and they don't even have to have conventional talent. Like I mentioned Insane Clown Posse earlier. I grew into liking that band because like I went on a Wikipedia page saying what were the bands considered the worst ever. Because I had heard Nickelback, and that's an example where I don't really like Nickelback. But
I don't mind Nickelback.
Okay, right on. There you go.
I feel like it's a train Creed. People are hopping
Creed,
on.
Everybody hates Creed, says the Creed's derivative and shitty, and I think Creed is fucking badass. I listen to it, it makes me feel good.
Right.
I don't believe in a guilty pleasure. I believe if it makes you feel good, if it gets your foot tapping, if it puts positive rhythm in your day, hell yeah.
I'm going to do a cover to Nickelback. I am. I'm a post it.
Look at this photograph.
Yes. Yes.
No, what's a Nickelback track that you like then?
I haven't listened to them in a long time.
Right.
I forgot how it goes. It's been a long time. I'm not like a Nickelback fan. But I'm not on the opposite.
They've got that big soaring hook kind of thing that I get the appeal. I definitely do. But another example in the movie world is there's a movie I really love called Birdemic. And the only people that have listened this far are your fans, who I apologize to you for talking about Birdemic to your fans. But and people who are like the 2 or 3 people who are my close friends. And they already fucking know I love Birdemic. But the whole point is it's just an attempt to make a full-length movie by a guy who had no fucking business making a full-length movie. So like the CGI for the birds that are somehow like radioactive evil birds, by the way, is like, it looks like animated GIFs are on the screen. But if you talk to the guy, he was really sincere about it. Like, and that's what comes through to me in art. That's what I like, is somebody who's like, okay, my life needs for this art to exist. I don't care if 10 people in a row or 20 people in a row tell me that they don't like it. I'm going to fucking do it.
That's true.
To me, that I'm more excited to hear that than, the 6th Maroon 5 album, where I know what they're about, and I know it's going to sound polished.
I would love to sit down with Pharrell, because I feel like he would know right away whether or not I was being authentic to myself in my music. And I know for him, it's a big deal to soul search and to really find what sits with you. Because even if your music sounds similar to someone else's, he can tell if you are trying to really be this other person, right, versus if you are being true to yourself.
Right.
And he's just one person that I also really love.
Talk about someone who's not limited by genre.
For real.
Amazing drummer.
For real.
Yes, bassist, multi-instrumentalist, producer. Produced my favorite Kid Cudi song ever, which is Surfin'. Do you know that song?
I don't.
I don't even want to sing it because it's Cudi and I'm going to fuck it up, you know? But if you knew it, we would have fucking had a good time.
We would have been vibing right now.
But that's the thing I love that about music, is like so many things that disconnect people from one another. And when 2 people or more than 2 people hear a song and they know the lyrics and they sing it together, instant kinship.
Nostalgia.
Instant connection.
Yes.
Oh my God. I had a friend, I sat and we went on YouTube and just on the nostalgia tip, her name's Itzel Chacon. And we were at this program helping these young kids apply to colleges. And in the evenings we would turn up and we just fucking had a few drinks and went on YouTube and listened to My Chemical Romance, Panic at the Disco, fucking, I don't know, Taking Back Sunday, probably Yellow Card, Blink 182, I Miss You, fucking instantly. That nostalgia does take you right back.
It does.
Teenagers by My Chemical Romance.
Yes.
That was the one rebellious song.
They say,
yeah. Teenagers scared the living shit out of me.
Yeah.
They could care less as long as someone will bleed. Yeah. That was because I was friends with the emos in my middle school.
I was emo.
And they were on the wall for fucking everything else. Fucking Chingy, Nelly, fucking you, Soulja Boy. I couldn't even remember Soulja Boy's name for a second. I could only remember you. But then Teenagers comes on and everybody doing their little fun goth dances. It's great. It's great. There's room for everybody at the middle school dance.
There is. Aww.
But you got to leave room for Jesus, you know.
Well, I walk 20 minutes to my 25 minutes. I live far, and it was dark.
Really?
And I walked to my middle school dance. Yeah, I got all dressed up. I was looking a little too good to be walking out late at night like that. But I thought I knew what I was doing. I was like, yeah, get there.
Okay.
No one wanted to dance with me. Fine. That's fine. That's because I was a little weird. Admittedly so. I was weird. So, and then I ended up walking back home at 11 o'clock at night. 25 minutes.
Well, you came to Eugene. There has to be some weirdness in you.
Yeah, for sure.
Guess. For sure. But yeah, no, we definitely... I was a person who was very socially awkward, but I also love people. And you had to be going to the dance with someone, otherwise you weren't cool. Right. So the big buzz, if there was a dance coming up, whether it was in the fall or the spring, who were you taking? Who were you asking? How did you ask them?
Right.
Even in middle school. But I went to the dances with a couple of different girls at various points and just didn't know what to do from there. We're at the dance now. Well, I don't normally dance at these. So, let's just stand around and be in circles with people kind of awkwardly.
What made me mad is throughout pretty much my whole experience in schooling as a child or as a kid, teenager, all the popular guys would hit on me on the low. but they would never ever want to hit on me around their homies or none of that stuff. They'll be like, hey, what's like, see me in the hallway or whatever. I'm like, and just keep on walking. I was not fazed by it. I saw right through it. Okay.
Yeah.
And
hey, if you're gonna freaking come at me,
if you're
then
gonna talk to me, like, don't be ashamed. Like,
absolutely, don't try to hide me away.
No, like that's a turnoff for me. Like, and in a not in a negative way against you, but just for my own standards. Like, if you don't think I'm attractive, like, or enough to like show me to the people that you care about or whatever, and you just want to do something on the low, that like that's for me as a no-go. Like,
I
want to think highly enough of myself, and I hope other people, all my viewers and stuff, think highly enough of yourself to not let that kind of disrespect come onto you, unless you're just trying to like have a few flings or whatever happen. That's all. That's all. Well, but I'm very monogamous. I like to have have a boo. You know, and I'm gonna show you off. You show me off.
I'm looking for my boo. I had a boo for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang, 3 years.
Well, yeah, and then we're on a break right now, but I don't think we're gonna get back together. It just looks like.
How many breaks y'all had?
We really have only had this one.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's out in like Central Time Zone, and I'm out here, so it's far, and our lives are different. But with relationships, it's always sad to me when there isn't any contact at all afterwards. For me, but that's not always how it needs to be or should be for healthy growth. And
I like to connect. I honestly, I've had this habit of trying to keep in contact with my exes, but they always see it as a door open to come back. Eventually, I get like a drunk call or drunk text or whatever, and their real feelings come out. It's like, I thought we were just friends, but no, all my exes can't just be friends, and I had to learn that the hard way, because it hurts, because people don't realize when somebody leaves out of your life, you're kind of grieving to a certain extent. You're grieving their loss, and it hurts, but it's important for your own health just to...
Mac Lethal said, love is when you miss someone who's sitting right in front of you.
Dang.
That's what it is. Sometimes when you had this deep connection, there was physical intimacy, there was such emotional connection, and then let's just go get pizza now. You know, like it can be hard unless that some connections between people are so strong and important and solid that they can move in and out of. We were in a relationship and now we're just friends who love each other in a friend way.
Yes, that's great.
That is beautiful.
It is beautiful, truly. None of my exes, you know who you are. Probably watching. Probably going to watch this.
Well, I think there's always been difficulties and challenges in the dating world, but right now with the apps, it's just so sad that it's so superficial with how quickly we have to make judgments about what do you think about that?
Apps.
They do differ. Not all of them are so much like that. Like Hinge is one where, you actually have to choose a certain part of a person's profile to like or respond to a certain part of their profile. So I think that's better.
Okay.
Unless you're just looking for the quick smash. But which I don't know.
A lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like honesty. I like when people are like, I've had people who like stand out from the pack by literally writing like looking for something serious or just a quick fuck. Like just the fact that you put that on the table makes me like there's plausible deniability too if she felt like, oh, I don't want to be shamed.
Yeah.
Because I am looking for something serious, but it could also just be a quick fuck.
Right.
But at least that's like, hey, it's going to be depending on who you are.
Right.
Like if you're super hot, but like unintelligent or we can't vibe, then maybe we could, I don't know.
For me, the vibe, like the energy always has to be there. I can't just like, I just can't. Cause so the energy has to be there. At least like we've talked a little bit, can't just be like, okay, met up here, let's do it. For me personally. So that connection has to be there. Yeah.
Well,
apps, I think apps though, I feel the best route is always like organically, like in a scene, maybe not exactly a bar. It could be a bar, you know, but like in a social setting where things kind of just flow and it happens. And I do think women should advance first, like hit on guys just as much as the opposite. I do think personally, I think that.
I know there's weird expectations that go into this gendered thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's a huge wave on YouTube of women saying
Elizabeth
that like
Warren asked her husband to marry her.
Oh, I can't do that though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not any Warren fan. Oh, you can't ask someone to marry them.
No, that one. I can't ask a man to marry me.
Sure.
That's also that's where I'm feeding into it. But
hey. We all live in this world. Nobody's.
That's true. That's true.
And nobody's in a vacuum, devoid of any influences. Like the influences are there. You just try to like make the world a little better and focus on the positive ones.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, I have maybe one last question, unless there's anything you're dying to say, which is, what's one way we could all be a little less stupid?
Work on yourself. Meditate. Pray, whatever that is, to get yourself centered, because it kind of really all starts from within on the outside. That helps you interact with people better. You just feel happier. I feel so happy after I've meditated.
Nice.
And literally like the trees look greener. Like the flowers are waving back at me. But no, I feel just zen. I feel it. Yeah, for sure. I do have a show coming up.
Beautiful.
April 3rd. It's a while, but it'll be at the Davis, and it's going to be packed. You should come. Definitely, support that. So
nice. Yeah. Is there anyone else on the bill or any?
Yeah, we'll have Lavish. We'll have Julian Outlaw.
Sweet.
Benny Cosmic.
I just met Julian at my sandwich job.
Julian is phenomenal.
What an amazing. I haven't even listened to his music. Just great energy as a person.
What he stands for too.
Nice.
I'm telling you, when he performs, it's like.
Yes.
But then at the end, he like closes it out with just like, just be you, and like,
fuck yeah.
Like, he's great.
That's epic.
He's great. Work with me, Julian.
Well, I was talking to my friend Just Joey. Hopefully you'll meet again, like I said, but he was talking about being new to here, not knowing if like hip hop like is really happening here or has a home here. But just all about making those connections.
It is.
And getting together and, making music and making community happen at shows. So April 3rd, the Davis on Broadway and Olive.
Yep.
In the heart of downtown Eugene. Check out AMIIA NECTAR. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Peace out, everybody. Kick the audience away.